So, what have you eaten today? Which is very apropos for you, of course.
I've got the worst answer ever to this question. I've got the most embarrassing answer. At least I'm embarrassed by the answer. I had two Taco Bell breakfast Crunchwrap Supremes,
For
one sausage,
breakfast.
one bacon.
For breakfast.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you definitely fit into, I think, the majority of the population that seems to go to fast food a lot. And then that dovetails into what you're doing on your YouTube channel, which is getting drunk and going to fast food places. So tell us a little bit about what's going on there with your YouTube show.
You know, I'll tell you the genesis of it was McDonald's was advertising that Air, Land, and Sea burger, where they had the Big Mac with a fillet of fish and a McChicken all built into it. And I was guesting on a podcast, and I thought it would be really funny if I show up and just pull that monstrosity out and start eating it. I didn't realize you had to actually deconstruct these sandwiches and put them back together, and that was a little much for me. So I still held up the thing and made the joke. I just had them in their boxes. Um, and as I'm known to do, probably a month later I got very very drunk at home, and I decided I was hungry, and I was drunk enough that I would deconstruct these sandwiches. And in my head, and in fairness, it's and not not breaking the bank, but I've been able to monetize at least a little bit. So it's worked. The concept of I'm just going to record this because look, I'm going to be drunk and eating this horrible food, regardless of whether anybody's watching me. I might as well make it content. And that was that. And it's not huge, but it's enough that I've built. I just passed 1,200 subscribers, and that's mostly what I end up doing now on my YouTube channel is just eating food.
That's so funny because the fast food world is so attractive to so many people, and you'll find yourself getting more subscribers to people who want to watch a drunk guy eating fast food than just listen to a guy doing an interview, a typical interview. So tell us a little bit about some of these experiences that you had, and then I'm going to want to break it down as to who's doing what and what's delicious and what's not so.
Oh, for sure. Let's see. The place I've frequented the most is Arby's. I think I've done five or six of my. I think I'm over 30 now. I think I've done five or six at Arby's. They keep adding new menu items, and that's really what I try to key on because the things that do best get the most views are the things you keep seeing on TV all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there is. I've even gotten into this on occasion of I wonder what that actually looks like when it's actually delivered. And instead of going and getting the food like I'll go on YouTube and I'll say I just want to see someone. I don't stick around for the whole video to watch them eat it, but I just want to see them unwrap it and hold it to the camera and compare it to what that gorgeous thing that I see on the TV compared to what's in their hand. So that's what I try to key on is I see a commercial for a fast food item and I try to remember when I'm intoxicated. That sometimes is problematic as well.
So, from my point of view, I'm a consumer of marketing and of advertising and of the way businesses do their work. And so, from my point of view, when I see the Arby's commercials, I'm thinking, wow, they seem inventive and they're coming up with a lot of interesting products. So, tell us about which of their products are doing really well in your opinion. What tastes really good, and do they look anything like the advertising?
The last thing I got was they're advertising the perfect bite. It's mac and cheese with fried chicken and bacon in it, and it there is one thing that's always a wild card is whether the restaurant's going to serve it fresh and it's going to be delivered still fresh. I got this; it was piping hot. It says warning: stir this before you eat it, so everything's all mixed in. It was fantastic. It was great. I'm not too fond of fast food pasta because typically it's overcooked and soggy and usually not hot enough when it gets delivered. This at least in this instance was an exception. And then I also got, and this is from I feel like Arby's gains a lot of sales probably by just coming up with one new item here or there because Uber Eats, for example, you have to have $15 of food to get free delivery. So, that $5 bowl isn't enough. So I get two more sandwiches on top of it. So they've got a garlic ribeye sandwich, which is good. The second one was not nearly as good as the first one.
Uh-huh.
But the garlic aioli they use is very flavorful and tasty. So it's still a pleasurable thing to shove down your mouth, especially when you're intoxicated.
You made a really good point just a moment ago. You kind of just went right over it, but you're using Uber Eats, so you're having someone deliver you stuff, so you're not drinking and then driving, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, the only inauthentic thing I've done on my Drunk Jeff Eats is I have recorded a couple when I've been sober.
And were you pretending to be drunk during those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, okay, the truth always comes out, Jeff.
yeah, there were two, at least two, where I was not just like sober, like I hadn't drank that day, like sober, like I hadn't drank in a week, that I recorded. But I'm like, I feel like I got to put something out. And, in fairness, it's easy for me to say I only eat fast food when I'm drunk.
It's pretty wild that you've actually kind of stumbled upon a niche that was not really a niche because it was just part of your day-to-day existence, right? Just getting drunk and eating fast food was part of your world, and you decided, oh, let me just turn on the camera, and now you're finding your following.
Yeah, it's
Not
that's
a,
one thing I don't. Somebody told me, it was one of my friends, I'm sure, but they're like, if you can monetize things you're already doing on a on a regular basis, make your life a little bit easier than trying new things. Just do what you're doing and throw a camera on while you do it.
in a lot of ways that makes sense because it's not something you really have to rehearse for. It's not something that you really have to script. You just do you, and you turn on the camera and let people find you.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the people who find me typically are looking for like me. Although when I started it, I was going through some of the YouTube trends and things that you can look at, and I was getting a lot of people who were searching for ASMR food. So they just
Right.
wanted to watch people eat and hear them eat.
Yeah.
That's when I made a decision to play background music and edit the videos so my chewing is almost non-existent in them. I take a bite and then I'm talking. It's like the food just disappeared. It's not, so I'll record for 20 minutes and come out with a 7-minute video because I'm taking all of the chewing out of the eating because even though I should have probably just leaned into it, the idea of someone like me watching me eat and just finding pleasure in it just creeped me out a little bit.
Well, the ASMR crowd out there is fairly large. So by doing that, you're eliminating the opportunity to have that many more followers, perhaps.
And that's when I made a few financial moves and said, I'm going for broke. I'm going to try to write. I'll perform comedy. I'll do anything to be in the comedy industry because that's what I really love. So whatever doors may open from that, I'm fine. I don't care if I'm a writer or a podcast host or whatever, as long as I can make enough to survive. I just need enough money to live on because I want to enjoy what I do every day.
Yeah. And have you found that place?
I'm getting closer.
Good, good, good. You mentioned that when you were in college that you were experiencing depression and anxiety and things like that, but you didn't talk about the drinking until a little bit later. Was it all kind of the same? Did it come out of the same place? You see any connection there?
It's very interesting because I do think with many people and many therapists I've gone to have said have tried to kind of go down that route, and eventually they all lead to, what? I don't think the drinking's its own problem, but I don't think it's related to the depression, directly at least.
That's so interesting when you think about it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of confounding even to me. I think the way I'm trying to think of an appropriate way to explain it. I was a very shy person. Like I wouldn't, do anything that I'm doing now when I was, 18, 19 years old. When I started drinking, obviously it makes you a more social person. And in the beginning, 19, 20, 21 years old, it was a crutch. Like, I can't, I'd go to a party and stand in a corner until I got my eighth beer down, and then I'd be the life of the party. But that's not a functional way to go through life.
Sure.
Eventually, it became like a light switch, where I can be the same person whether I'm sober or I'm drunk. Obviously, if I'm drinking a lot, I'm going to be a little different, but I can have fun either way. So it was almost just like I did that to break through my shyness, and now I'm to the point where actually when I had you on my podcast, I had mentioned I was considering a long time without alcohol.
Yeah.
And I did turn that switch on, and I went 19 days without having a single drop of alcohol.
Fantastic.
I lost 11 pounds in those 19 days.
Yeah.
And I did hang out with friends a few times during that stretch. It wasn't like I was a hermit. I wasn't unsociable or anything like that, which was actually the main test to me was, will I just sit at home and watch TV and be sad, or will I go out and socialize? And I still did, but go out with the people. I didn't
Right.
disappear.
Sure.
I did several podcasts completely sober. So that was good. I'm back drinking now, not this second, but but that was a good test. But going back to the depression part, yeah, I'm not sure why. I've always kind of pigeonholed that as, I don't know, that almost addressed my anxiety, my social anxiety aspect, and now that's gone. So drinking's an on and off thing that helps. But one thing I have always said to people who drink emotionally, I do think that's a big problem. Meaning, I'm someone who says, if you're going to drink because you want to drink. Don't drink because you're upset. Don't drink because you're exhilarated. Don't drink because of emotion. Drink because you just want to drink. And I think that maybe helps it not be something that, it's not an emotional thing. My younger sister always says, she's a Jets fan, so after every game, I need to drink. And it's like, don't drink because you want to drink. Don't drink because the Jets ruined your day. And I think I don't know. That's my little healthy coping mechanism to explain away my drinking.
Oh, that's interesting. So when you had your back surgery, was that a result of an injury or an accident, or what happened there?
No, I just have a genetically bad back. My mom's had tons of surgery. She was bedridden for a decade. So no, it was just my back went out one day. I lost the feeling in my right leg for a few months while my then wife was pregnant, which wasn't the best timing. I couldn't drive to work because I couldn't drive a car because I couldn't feel my leg. So it was problematic, kind of fast-tracked to having surgery to remove all of the junk. I didn't need any hardware put in. I just needed a bunch taken out so that, my nerve endings were not compromised.
Okay, you're a very young guy, and and this is definitely not a self-help show for sure. But in the arc of your life thus far, are you looking at ways to improve, your happiness level and your health level and things like that? And does it have anything to do with the drinking or the drugs or whatever else you might be ingesting?
I think the main thing right now, I got cast as a lead role in a comedy film in August of last year. We finished shooting in October, and it hopefully comes out in March.
Oh, cool. Do you want to plug that?
Yeah, it's called Women Want Everything. I'm not sure where it will be. Uh, I didn't produce it, didn't direct it, just acted in it. But my
So we
name's
don't
on the
know if
movie
it's
poster.
we don't know if it's going straight to video or whether it's actually going to go into theaters.
I'm not sure. I know we're
Uh-huh.
having a theatrical premiere, but I don't know if that's just one showing for the cast and crew and family kind of thing.
Inside someone's home.
No, yeah, no, it's not. I've been told that this director throws big premiere parties. And he's putting together a press kit. So I've been getting emails from him lately. Like it's this company. I think their last two movies have gone to Amazon Prime. So they'll be visible for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I got the acting bug, and I'm you can't really necessarily tell from this angle, but I'm a pretty large guy. So the main thing I would like to do, looking at casting for future film projects, TV projects, is it's I don't want to be the fat guy.
Right.
So I want to lose weight so that it opens up. Being a fat guy, you're kind of you got to just be a character actor. Being 60 pounds lighter, I could be a leading man, or I could still do comedy. You can still be thin and funny. You can't be fat and be a leading man. It's just just the way it is. And I still prefer comedy, to be clear, but a lot of roles are, we want a guy with an average build. Well, I'm not going to be average. I'm
Above
smaller.
average.
Yes, I'm smaller than I was. When Women Want Everything comes out, I was probably 10 to 15 pounds heavier in that than I am now. So I'm heading in the right direction.
So how are you going to track that? How are you going to make that happen?
Having a concrete plan is difficult because, one example is the show I got hired to co-host is what we've done I think we've done 17 episodes, and probably 8 to 10 of them are cooking. We're testing out. He'll buy stuff, send it to me, so I'm getting a lot of free stuff as well. And we'll cook on camera, and we'll talk, and we'll test out these items. So it's hard to regulate a diet a little bit when really part of my job now is to cook food, and no one wants to see me cooking. It's called The Man Show Live, so we're not cooking healthy recipes, unfortunately.
There was a show called The Man Show 10, 20 years ago, right? Adam Carolla and people like that.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel. So it's more of a steaks and sausage and potato, that kind of food is more of what the focus is. It's the guy who hosts it is plays a man's man, so that's part. I actually started that show when I was sober. And I was just drinking water that I'd have to lie and say was something else, or the only unhealthy thing I did is after my son's football practice, I'd swing by McDonald's, get them McDonald's, and I'd get a large Diet Coke because their Diet Cokes are somehow better than every place else's. So I just say, I put some rum in here, that. So I pretended I was drinking. But during the time when I got hired, I was actually on a very strict diet while I was sober. I'm eating only vegetables, meat, eggs, a lot of eggs. Even my meat, I had boundaries to it where I knew that I needed to limit how much beef I had, or I would overdo it because I could, I think I didn't want it to be keto, but keto close, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I let myself have beans. I don't know if beans are on keto. Probably
No,
not.
definitely not.
But I let myself have beans two servings of beans a week. Just little things like that were different than keto, but close enough. And I did that for 2 weeks until the show started. And the first week, the weight just dropped off immediately. The second week was pretty level. And then the third week was my last week, and I was eating the donuts that we were making and stuff like that on the show. So still was losing weight because I wasn't drinking alcohol. And then I started drinking again. So I think my plan is to go back to that when I can. Unfortunately, it's one of those things I feel like, and this is probably an unhealthy attitude actually to have, is I need to plan it out to schedule to make sure when I plan on being sober, I don't have anything coming up that's going to be a problem. I do think, and I understand people who do have a problem with alcohol. I know people who have told me straight up, if I have one sip of beer by the end of the night, I'm going to be doing crack with a homeless person in the alley.
Yeah, yeah. But you don't see yourself like that.
No, I always thought what I would like to do is I would like to be the guy who literally would be like, I'll have one beer this month, not as a regimented thing. Like it's just a social nicety of, do you want a beer? Sure, I'll take a beer. Drink a beer and that's it. I don't need to get drunk. I don't need to drink the next day. I don't need to drink again. It doesn't need to be a focal point of my plan. It just is something I can or cannot do depending on whatever circumstances. That I feel like is the best handle someone can have on alcohol. Is
It's
I can
probably
take it or leave it.
it's probably the best handle, the best place for anybody to be in the practice of life is to be in that kind of moderation place, because otherwise there's trouble a brewing. And so if you can eat the goodies occasionally and have a drink occasionally and do the naughty things only occasionally, then you're probably in a much healthier place than doing anything in an excessive way. Yeah. Take us back to your kids. What are their ages right now? And I'm guessing that you and your former wife are sharing them, a back and forth kind of agreement. So how does that work?
Yeah. My daughter is going to turn 13 next week. My son is 10. And yeah, 50-50 custody. They go back and forth, Monday, Tuesday with her, Wednesday, Thursday with me, and we split every other weekend. And we get along very well now, me and my ex-wife. Part of it was we got married. She was 22 and I was 25. I mean, we were children.
Oh yeah.
And we had a child already when we got married too. So, kind of momentum pushed us in that direction, I would
Right.
say. So I think once the animosity boiled off, which was pretty quick, it was never contentious over custody of the kids or anything like that. But now we get along very well as far as, she wants to take the kids to her mom, so can she have a couple days here, or when I was shooting the movie, occasionally I'd be like, can you take them today? It's probably going to be a 14-hour day. You mind just keeping them all day, and I'll pick them up in the morning. Never any issues with that, so we get along well.
It's great and healthy to be able to negotiate things like that easily with a former or an ex.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate in that regard because it allowed me. My philosophy is generally to try to, I always looked at it like 50% is like the minimum. So I always try to suck any amount of time I can where it's like, I have a couple free hours and, one of my kids, if they're not in school, of course, I'm going to swing by and pick, Bella up and take her to lunch, just the two of us. Or I'm going to take James to the park and just play catch. So that's always been my attitude, is try to steal I say steal like it's a bad thing, but steal every little bit above that 50% that I can. On the flip side, I have had to have the talk with them of, if this acting thing takes off, I might need to go away because not a lot of movies are shot in St. Petersburg or Tampa. So if I need to go away for, if Marvel wants me to be in a movie, I'm probably going to be, out of the country for 3 months. And to that, my son gets upset. My daughter's like, that would be the coolest thing ever, because she wants to be an actress. So
Oh, okay. So she understands that pursuit.
she wants to ship me out as much as possible.
So where does this the show, that in addition to Jeff Macolino podcast. You're doing the YouTube one where you're getting a little bit buzzed and eating fast food. Where does the man show up here?
That's on YouTube and Twitch, Monday through Friday, usually at 6 o'clock p.m.
So is the Twitch network or the Twitch app, is that a live streaming podcast type thing?
Yes, yeah. So it is live. So we have a decent amount of audience interaction, even though it's a small audience so far. But it adds a lot when the comments get riled up while you're live, and it can kind of help push things in certain directions.
So when you're doing a show on Twitch and and it's live, it's being streamed, and you have people commenting, how are you able to focus on the conversation, the camera, and the comments all at the same time?
It's not easy. If we were doing a cooking one that was very labor intensive, and I'm in charge actually of monitoring the comments, and they were going off on YouTube live comments, and I had my head down working. So it's not easy. He has a producer. He shoots it in a studio, so he handles all the technical stuff. But that is my job, is to co-host and make sure I read him the comments as they come up. So I'm trying different methods of laying things out on my screen so they pop up so that I can't miss them. I haven't perfected it yet, but we're still under 20 episodes, so I'll probably get there.
So aside from the acting, which I know you really want to do for the future, of the things that you are doing right now, what are you finding most gratifying, most rewarding, and most fun?
I think the one thing that I would do if I became a billionaire overnight, the one thing that I would not give up that I do creatively is the Jeff Macolino podcast. It just lets me talk to so many interesting people like yourself. And it just those conversations, they're not all great, but a lot of them are. And sometimes one interesting thing is I'll have episodes, and I'll be friends with these guests for, I this week I've probably communicated with 7 former guests through email about this or that. It's just one of those things that it's a nice community, I feel like, that I'm a part of. And sometimes I'll have a friend or a family member be like, I didn't particularly like that episode. I'm like, that's interesting. So it doesn't even, and sometimes I've only had a couple guests who are not that nice. And, and they, I'll hear, oh, that was a great episode. It's like, oh man, I hated doing that one. But yeah, I wouldn't give it up, because I also haven't pigeonholed myself, as you probably know. I can talk to anyone about anything. It's not only this, only that. So creatively, it really lets my mind go to places that I've never explored before. So that's probably the one that I find the most gratifying, and that's the way I view it too. Is if I was a billionaire, which of these things would I keep doing? I think I'd still do that podcast because I just enjoy it too much. I mean, I might get someone else to schedule and edit and all that stuff, but
as long as you're a billionaire, you might as well have someone else do the work.
Oh yeah. I would just show up and have the conversation. I'd just be the face and the voice, not the worker behind the scenes.
Okay, next dream.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, as we start to wrap it up here, I do want to ask you, in your opinion, who's doing the best work in the fast food world right now? What place is most delicious for you?
If you, I'm going to give a 1A and a 1B if that's acceptable. 1A has got I love Arby's. I think it is the highest quality of fast food. They do try new things. Not everything's perfect that they try, but they try new things, so they keep it fresh. Arby's is like the butt of the joke a lot of times, I feel like, but it's not cheap fast food in price or quality, in my humble opinion.
Are people still giving any love to the whole horsey sauce thing? Because I remember in my youth that was one of my favorite parts of Arby's.
I still like horsey sauce. Or I've got lots of horsey sauce and Arby's sauce packets in my fridge. I collect the ones I don't use because I know
Right.
I'll use them eventually.
Oh yeah. So what's coming up next? Where can people get a hold of you or see you do your thing or whatever?
I'm all over the internet. The Jeff Macolino podcast, that's my baby. You can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts. The Man Show Live right now, mainly on YouTube, also on Twitch. That's themanshowlive.com is the website for that. And I guess follow me on social media and you'll find out everything else. And my YouTube channel is just Jeff Macolino, just my name. I do put some podcast clips on there also, and of course Drunk Jeff Eats is my main thing right now. And social media, I'm Saint J Mac, like the football team, Saint
I like
J
that.
Mac,
Good. Uh-huh.
on Instagram and Twitter and a couple other places. I think I'm not good with social media, but I plug my stuff on there. So
Well, that's good. It seems like you're really enjoying yourself right now. You're in a good phase, and so it's nice to see that.
yeah, it's very nice when you can look at the calendar and say I'm working a 16-hour day today, and I enjoy every single thing I'm doing, except
that's
for looking
great.
at the calendar.
Well, when you're a billionaire, you won't even have to do that.
Yep, my assistant handled that, right?
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a lot of fun, and definitely stay in touch. I want to keep up to date with what's happening with you.
Absolutely, absolutely.